A brilliant surgeon who could save anyone was never able to save the one person he loved the most, his wife. It all started when David and Emily Carter moved to the city. David was a renowned heart surgeon who had a reputation for being able to save the most difficult cases. The couple had moved so that David could take on the position of chief of cardiothoracic surgery at the city hospital. On the day he was supposed to start, David was called in to perform emergency surgery on a young girl who had been brought in on a stretcher. Without hesitation, David went into the operating room and began the surgery. Emily waited anxiously for him in their new home, pacing back and forth. She couldn't help but worry about how her husband would react if he was unable to save the girl. He had such high standards and put so much pressure on himself to succeed. After what felt like an eternity, David came out of the operating room and collapsed into a chair. Emily rushed over to him, her eyes filled with concern. "What happened?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I'm sorry, Emily," David said, his voice heavy with sadness. "I did everything I could, but I couldn't save her." Emily placed a comforting hand on his shoulder, but she couldn't help but feel a sense of disappointment. This was the first time she had ever seen her husband fail. As the days went by, Emily couldn't help but feel a growing sense of unease. She noticed that David was becoming increasingly withdrawn and was spending more time in the garage working on his motorcycle than in their new home. One night, Emily went to the garage to find David and she found something that shocked her. David was in his scrubs, ready to operate, but instead of the usual array of tools, there was a noose hanging from the garage door. Before Emily could stop him, David had already put the noose around his neck and was struggling to secure it in place. "David, please don't do this," Emily cried out, reaching for him. But David was too quick for her and he managed to secure the noose before she could stop him. With a final nod, he kicked the stool away and left Emily screaming in horror as he hung himself in the garage. When the police arrived, they found a note next to the body that simply said, "I'm sorry, Emily. I just can't live with myself after losing the little girl. I failed her and I failed you." Emily was devastated. She couldn't believe that the man she loved, the man who was supposed to save people for a living, had ended his own life because he couldn't save a child. In her grief, Emily vowed to honor David's memory by helping other people cope with their grief. She knew that David would have wanted her to be strong and move on, but it wasn't easy. Every day without him was a struggle, but Emily knew that she had to keep going for David and for herself.